Hello everyone, my name is Binks and welcome back to Let's Play Dear Monster. I'm back! I had my little break. My dear Coco came to visit and we had a good time. And I'm very tired still. we did a lot of traveling and not traveling. She traveled. I didn't, but yeah, we did a lot of traveling around the city and sightseeing and all of that. So it was a very pleasant and wonderful little vacation for me and her, and saw some other friends, and it was very nice. Much needed, much deserved break. Um, Not as long as I would like it to be. Uh, I wish I had more time away from work. God knows I need it. But anyway, back to normal, back to the routine. So now it's time for us to do what I said we would do, which is, of course, we are going to begin with Hikmat's route. Now, like I said before, I don't know if the correct pronunciation is Hikmat or Hikmot. This is all stuff we've seen before. Um, a lot of this will be skipped because now we are definitely avoiding all these people. Alright, so now I'm wondering about Hikmat. This is new for us, so... Okay then. I'm sorry, Slagathor. I love you, bro, but I gotta go. He touches his bronze bracelet and it buzzes quietly. Go to the hall. He should be there soon. Alrighty then. Thank you, Slagathor. I love you. Alright. Soon there's Hikmat on top of the stairs. When he sees me, he frowns slightly. Then he comes down, but his steps are slow and reluctant. You're trying to fight it, but you can't fight it forever. You can't ignore me. Why was I summoned here? Is there yet another emergency that I'm bound to resolve? State your business swiftly. No, there's no emergency. I just thought you could maybe show me around the mansion? I asked the cook to get you. Slagathor summoned me to be your guide. I do not remember agreeing to that. Well, you didn't, and I'll completely understand if you decide to go back to whatever you were doing. The need to explore a new place. I understand it, but my tasks for today are important. It might be better if you ask someone else. He didn't completely say no. He kind of did, but... Yeah, of course. No problem. Hey, wait! Maybe I could go around the mansion and simultaneously help you with whatever you're doing? Hey, good for you, Alan. Don't take no, kinda no for an answer. If you'd rather be alone, I get that too. He looks at me for a moment longer, and my skin begins to tingle with the same bizarre energy. I swallow, trying to maintain eye contact. Finally, he sighs. God, he's so fucking gorgeous. Look at this man. Ugh. He's so pretty. Why are you so pretty? If you're interested in following me, I'll allow it. However, if you get bored, please leave. If you get lost, I might not notice. If you talk too much... Do you usually talk too much? You're not very fond of people, are you? No, I suppose I'm not. But then again, Master Theodore was the only human I've talked to for a very, very long time. He goes behind the stairs where, as I can see now, is the extension of the hallway. It leads to a glass door. I walk behind him and wonder if he was serious about us not talking to each other. We end up outside the mansion and go through the pathways full of bushes and blooming flowers. I can see a pair of peacocks sauntering around. So, where are we going? To the garden. But we're already in one? To the other part of the garden. Oh, cool. Why? I was in the middle of preparing the pot when you disturbed me. Wait, you guys are growing pot in here? Cool. What? No, flower pot. Ah, sorry. My bad. Why are you doing this, though? Don't you have a gardener? I mean, in a place like that, you have to hire somebody to help, right? I am the gardener. No way. You most certainly don't look like one. What do you expect them to look like? To wear overalls or something? He sighs. There's a deep sadness in his eyes, but I think it's aimed entirely at this conversation. Then what should I look like, child? Yeah. Maybe dressed in overalls? Or at least something that doesn't look like it's gonna tear apart in seconds? And I am not a child. You all are. You, the dragon, Farron, even your grandfather and Momo. They still have this youthful enthusiasm. How old are you exactly? Older than dust. The days when my age could be written in 3 figures are long gone. Since then, whole nations have risen and fallen. The world has changed and currents have shifted. Not that it matters. Death awaits us all. That's optimistic. I don't want to be rude, but what are you? I mean, Farron is clearly a unicorn, and Momo seems to be some variant of Kitsune. I used to be into fantasy and stuff, read a lot of books a long time ago. You have the Ankh symbol on your clothes, so you must be somehow connected to ancient Egypt? I just am. That tells me nothing. We stop in front of several greenhouses. Hikmat opens one, and we walk inside. There are a bunch of plants I've never seen before or even heard about. Others look familiar, but there's something unusual about each and every one of them. Is that a bed at the end of the greenhouse? Does he sleep here? Should I ask? Whoa, what is that smell? It's amazing. Ah, yes, I forgot. He snaps his fingers, and I can't smell the sweet flowery composition anymore. That particular plant makes one euphoric at first, but after a few minutes one loses their senses and becomes hostile. After a couple of hours, the effects are irreversible. What? Why do you keep something like that here? Why not? Just because it developed an interesting defense mechanism doesn't mean that there is something wrong with the plant itself. Today I'm going to seed something that's even more interesting. I'm almost too afraid to ask. You have no obligation to be here. Almost? What is it?
I managed to get the ivy of pleasure seeds. The dimension where it grows naturally is under strict travel control, and the plant itself seems to be quite illegal there. Humans, no matter where they come from, they always strive to control everything around them. I suppose it creates a soothing illusion of being in charge of their own lives. And yet, nature finds a way.
Okay, we getting Jurassic Park up in here. Alright, this one's a little too bitter and angry. This one's a little too dismissive. I believe for this route we have to be a little bit encouraging of humanity. Because right now, so there's 3 routes for this, right? So the one that I'm going with, because, I'll just tell you, there's one route where we have to be a little more cold and scientific-y, like he is right now. Because that's how he is, right? He's a very cold person. Cold and logic-based. Then there's one where we have to be very, like, distant towards him. Almost, like, freaked out by him. Which I think is kind of this one, changing the subject, like almost like we're not interested in him. And then there's one where we have to encourage him to be more human, right? More emotional, and that's the one that we're going with, where we're bonding with him more romantic. And that's the one that I like. That's the best option in my opinion. I do think the other 2 are interesting as well. I wouldn't say they're... Well, of course there's one ending that's more bad than the other. Because we always have to have, like, a bad ending, right? I can't remember which one. I think there's one that's more bad. Which one is it? I think is it the one that were more disgusted and creeped out by him? That makes sense to me. Yeah. Or was it the one that we were more scientific? In my mind, it makes sense if it's the one that we're more freaked out by him, right? Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? If we're freaked out by him and don't want anything to do with him, then that makes sense if that's the one that we're like, that's the bad ending. And the one that if we're more scientifically minded is like a middle of the road one. That one was pretty interesting too. But I think, yeah, let's do the best ending. I don't think humans are that simple.
Aren't they? All you do is dictated by the need of survival, pleasure, and fear of death.
What about selfless sacrifice? What about someone doing something heroic to save someone else? People hiding others during wars, putting their own lives on the line. People fighting to protect their countrymen. History is full of them. You said you've lived for centuries. You must have witnessed it at least once.
I might have. I do not remember. Everything fades like footsteps of a long-forgotten traveler, lost in the desert.
I mean, this storyline is like anyone who's like an immortal, right? A vampire or, you know, that kind of thing. Someone who's lived for such a long time that they forget what it was like to be human, what it's like to love and to lose and all of that. So that's pretty much the storyline here, right? Is helping him get in touch with that part of himself again. And I'm a sucker for that kind of storyline. I know it's been done time and time again, but him being an ancient Egyptian god is a nice twist of it, of course. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. He frowns, and I have a feeling he's really trying to remember. But then he shakes his head, and his eyes regain their distant,
almost bored look. My work requires my attention.
Aw. So why is this ivy of pleasure plant legal anyway? What does it do?
It lures one in, binds their body, and releases a certain chemical, keeping them in a constant orgasmic state. Then it feasts on them until they're no longer able to provide nourishment. Not the worst way to leave this world.
Let's see. So this one we're freaked out. So this one is the scientific one. Fascinating. So I guess we could be. This one is like just middle of the road, right? Like we're curious, but not like scientifically curious. So does it wind all through you? He raises his eyebrows for a second, and then his expression turns distant again.
Yes, your lower member would be rubbed constantly too.
Well, you're right then. That's not the worst way to die.
Your boldness surprises me. But I suppose your young age and hormones tend to turn every conversation into a sexual one.
Dude, you just said you're gonna grow a plant that fucks you to death. I'm just asking questions. And speaking of, why do you need it anyway?
Do I have to require it for a reason other than it being an interesting specimen?
So you're just gonna put it in the corner and watch it grow? Skeptical eyes. Hikmat's like, oh shit, he's calling me out.
I have in mind some experiments. Not that any of them should be your concern.
I think we might have walked in on some of those experiments in another lifetime. Oh, I'd love to hear more about them. I can also watch these experiments, if you don't mind. I mean, for, clinical studies and, helping you document.
What if even watching could put your life in peril?
Well, that would be bad, but my life so far, it's been pretty boring. I mean, everything's planned out, no surprises. Sometimes I feel like I'm just existing, not really living. Maybe taking a risk once in a while's not such a bad thing.
I do not know. Existing is the only thing I seem to do.
He mumbles something and begins to mix up various types of soil. He avoids my eyes. Did I make him blush a little, or is that just the light playing with me? What are you doing now, if it's okay to ask?
The ivy needs a particular soil to grow. Smuggling it here in the amount that I need would be too much of a hindrance. It's faster, easier, and less expensive to mimic the optimal conditions for the seed to sprout. I require a couple more ingredients.
He walks out of the greenhouse without even glancing at me. I follow him. We head to the mansion again. Can I ask you a question?
Does it matter if I agree?
Good point. What is the familiar call, and why does everyone seem so affected by it? He thinks about it for a second.
It is a symbiotic contract between a mage and the magical, non-human creature that allows them to access spiritual energy more effectively and in a more versatile way.
That sounds like a definition, yet I don't really understand. How does it work? We go through the hall and enter a door leading downstairs through a cold stone staircase. It's a bit creepy, but for now it doesn't matter. I need answers.
In order to become familiar and master, both parties need to connect their very souls for a couple of seconds. For a brief moment, both of you are one being, and you are never the same after separation. It leaves a mark on you, and your fates are intertwined indefinitely. It doesn't mean you have to like your familiar, but in time you would know them better than anyone.
What if it doesn't work out? Can you end it?
It's not a typical contract. Nobody forces you and your familiar to stay together. But even after 1,000 years of separation, you would still hold a part of them inside you that remains until death.
You seem to know a lot about that. Have you ever been a familiar before?
Yes, once.
How did it feel when it ended? I mean, sorry if you don't want to talk about it.
We never spoke the words, but we both knew it should not continue. I think I felt pain. I am not sure. I don't remember what pain feels like.
So this is what makes him unique as well, is that everybody else so far that we know has never been a familiar before. He has, and it's due to his age and his wisdom and all of that, right? And that's also what makes him an interesting partner for Alan, you know, is that he has this, I guess you would call it baggage, right? Has this history, this pain that he carries with him from his previous experience, his previous lost love, maybe. I mean, he hasn't said it, but you would assume that maybe he did love his last partner, his last I wouldn't say master, but his bond mate. Damn. Before I can reply, I notice a pair of glowing eyes before us. A shadowy figure comes into the light. And I see Imbrus glaring at us. Oh, Imbrus, I'm so sorry. We already had our time together and it was glorious. But that's over now. We have to move on, my darling. I hold my breath, definitely not ready for whatever's going to happen. Hikmat ignores him completely and goes further into the tunnel. As curious as I am about what you would say, I really am. Because I don't remember if I've actually ever done that. Like, if I've ever actually abandoned Hikmat to talk to Empress at this point. Or if it just becomes, like, the normal conversation. Like, I'm actually really curious. But, no, I'm sure it really doesn't matter. But yeah, of course we're gonna stay with Hikmat. It would have been funny if at least Empress had called out like, "Hey, you just gonna ignore me or something," you know? What do you think he's doing down there?
Who? The dragon. He's probably looking for Theodore. He's not going to find anything. We've already searched the entire mansion.
What is this place anyway? Why does Grandpa need a dungeon.
It seems like a suitable place to hold one's enemies. Maybe Theodore built it for that purpose. Or perhaps we'll find some sacrificial altars. I do not know. I have lived here only for the last couple of decades.
What? No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't, right?
Probably not. He's not an angel, but I'd say he's not an evil person either. Some things run in the family, though.
What do you mean? He doesn't answer.
This will do.
The walls here seem exactly the same as the ones before, but Hikmat pulls out a small knife and starts to cut blue fungus from the pillar. So that's why we're here. Are you going to mix it into the soil?
Not precisely.
He pulls out a tube and squeezes the mushroom. Soon the glass is full of dark turquoise fluid. Couldn't you grow this somewhere in your garden?
Why would I waste time preparing an optimal environment there when it already has ideal conditions here? Only one more thing to collect.
As usual, he doesn't wait for me. He's making use of his long legs, and I have to almost run after him. We go upstairs as he steadily leads the way. Wow. Just wow.
It should be somewhere here in the drawers. Can you check that desk? It was Theodore's favorite.
How is that possible? The sky. Wait, don't tell me. Magic, of course. And what are all these books? Is it all magic related, or are there also fiction ones? I could spend days, no, years in here if I only had all the time in the world. Do you know how to use the telescope?
Found it. Back to the garden, then.
Hey. All right. I just tagged along. You're not my guide. Happy?
Ask Farron. He'll be thrilled to show you everything and explain in detail.
Okay. So, what did you need from here? I look at a small leather pouch he's holding.
I was out of powdered human bones, but I thought Theodore might keep some here or in his study. It's good we found it quickly.
Bones? Human bones? That's
an ingredient. I know that humans have many thoughts and feelings about what should happen with their bodies after they perish, but I can assure you that no spirit cares.
That still seems disrespectful.
If you say so, Ivy has to eat.
He heads to the exit. I think I'll stay here for a while. I'd love to check out these books. He stops and regards me for a moment. As soon as our eyes meet, the air around us shimmers with now familiar energy. Except its strange hold over me seems stronger somehow. I take a deep breath, trying to calm down.
So, I'll finally have some peace.
You say that, but why do I feel like you're disappointed that he's not following you back? Oh, don't be like that. You like talking to someone about your plants. It wasn't such a pain after all, right?
I suppose your presence was surprisingly pleasant. I wouldn't mind it if you asked to watch me working again. Not too often, though.
Promise. He doesn't answer as he walks out. I exhale, relief and disappointment swirling inside my chest. All right, I think that's a good place to leave this episode. Alrighty then. I have no idea where am I at. All right, that's fine. Alrighty then. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this. Now we have finally began our journey with Hikmat. Ah, stay tuned, guys. It's gonna be a nice and interesting one. I think you guys are already getting the gist of what Hikmat is like and how he just needs a little bit of patience and gentle loving in order to come out of his shell. All right, well, until next time, hope you have a nice day. Bye bye.